Okay, 6 in the slow motion one, go to 81 black.
3, 2, 1, let go.
That's right, baby. It's the big show. Welcome to Super Beard Bowl, the show where you vote and then the patrons vote. And at the end, we make 8 episodes of monthly mayhem. The next public vote is currently on your screen at home. But this month, it's Jirard Khalil in How Famous is Jirard? And it all starts right now. This month on Super Beard Bowl 5.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Beard Bowl in this weird show that I'm still not used to the name of the show. My buddy Alex pitched the show. It's called How Famous is Jirard, which is a very weird show title. But we just did an interview with the CEO of Atari, which is blowing my mind because I'm about to blow all your guys' mind one more time, because in this interview, ladies and gentlemen, I am joined by the incredible, the one and only AEW superstar Adam Cole, aka the Chugs, on Twitch and YouTube. Please subscribe. Go check his channel out. Adam, thank you for being here, man.
Dude, of course. I always have time for you, Jirard. And what shoes I have to fill? The CEO of Atari? Holy moly.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wade was blown away at the gameplay that he saw. He was so blown away by it. But I imagine that you've seen a lot. You've seen this run before. You play a lot of games. You've seen this before. You know what's up.
Yeah. So I myself have not done a speed run, but I've watched a fair amount of speed runs of Mega Man X. So I'm very excited. This is actually one of my favorite speed runs to watch. Great.
I'm okay at it compared to most people, I would say. But it's gonna take us about an hour of me casually playing it. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. We're just going to shoot the shit as we get through this.
Oh my God, of course, man. Like I said, I said this right before we went live, and I mean it. Always got time for you, man. This is going to be super, super fun to watch.
Dude, you're the best. Thank you. So let's just jump right to it. This is the easiest question on planet Earth. What is your history with video games? Like, how did it all start for you?
Oh, goodness. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, but like, so I could give a super long-winded answer, but generally speaking, I will kind of give you the general rundown. So
sure.
Like, the first memory, not of gaming, but of my entire life, was me waking up at 3 years old, super early in the morning, and rushing downstairs to see that my dad had stayed up all night and got the best bike in Road Rash on the Sega Genesis.
Okay.
I was so impressed and so blown away because I tried to play Road Rash at 3 years old. I was terrible. So I was like, I've been a casual gamer my entire life, where I've enjoyed things like the Sega Genesis, the SNES, the PlayStation 1, all that stuff. But believe it or not, what actually turned things around for me, where I became like incredibly passionate about video games, was in 2015, Halo 5 had just come out. And my brother had an Xbox. I didn't have a console. I was bored. I wanted something to do. And I said, hey, Brent, do you mind if I play some Halo 5 tonight just to pass the time? He goes, yeah, sure. Long story short, I stayed up all night and beat the entire campaign. It took me till like 8 in the morning. I bought an Xbox One the next day. The rest was history. And that was really, really what did it for me.
And so now whenever you and I talk, you're always talking about how, like, dude, Jirard, check out this cool, rare thing I found. Yeah. But first off, kudos to you for doing that, because not everyone has the nuts to do that. But second, you're also so passionate about it. You're always just like, dude, I just read this book about the history of the Coleco or whatever it is, and you're just always so into it. And I'm just blown away that not only are you like into it, but like, you're if I'm busy, you're just as busy, if not more. Like, you're traveling all over the world and you're still playing games and streaming and doing YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, I've noticed that, like, again, if I'm super passionate about something, like I really do put my heart and soul into it. So if, for example, pro wrestling is my first love, I love it dearly. I eat, sleep, and breathe wrestling. But for the longest time, I never had anything else, and I thought there would never be anything else. And for me now, it's become video games. So like you said, like for example, I read through the history of video games, the video games textbook. I have all these different books and all these different collections. Like before, I used to not be a huge collector, but now I'm so passionate about it. So yeah, I do. I really love and care about video games.
That's awesome, and I feel like it's great because every time you and I talk, there's always something to discuss. Whether it's like,
oh my god, yeah.
Whether it's like, dude, I just read this thing or played this game, or like, dude, can you believe this is happening right now? It's there's always just something going on.
For sure, because Jirard, I don't know if I told you this, but for the longest time, one of my prized possessions is the first ever video game console, the Magnavox Odyssey, released in 1972. But recently, I added a Microvision, which was released in 1979, the first ever handheld video game console. Yeah, in the box too, man. In the box.
You're such a deep cut in that, because I think I own the Magnavox Odyssey 2.
Oh, cool.
But nothing outside. But as far as like that, I think that's about the oldest console that I own. And a couple of Game and Watches. I have like I have a Punch Out Game and Watch and the traditional Game and Watch.
Oh man. That's so cool, because I need to really up my game when it comes to the Game & Watch, because I have some of the newer ones, like the Mario one and the Zelda one, like the anniversary ones. But as far as OG Game & Watch, I need to step my game up, man.
Yeah, man, they're not that expensive, but they're definitely weird because they're essentially, remember the Tiger handhelds we grew up with? The Tiger handhelds? They reprint those now, so you can like get your favorites like again. But like those, like the Game & Watch was like basically the precursor for the Tiger handheld.
It really was. And the cool thing about, for example, like with me getting really into collecting, which is, again, normally something I'm not super into, but when it comes to wrestling and video games, I'm all about it. So as far as video games go, I was on eBay and I was like, okay, I have an original Nintendo in the box, but I would really love to get a Famicom. And as I was searching and looking to get a Famicom, I found one with these square buttons that were rubber instead of the round plastic buttons that we traditionally think of when we think of Famicom. And here I find out that the rubber square buttons were actually like first gen editions of the Famicom. So I was able to snag one of those, and I was like, oh my god, I had no idea. Like, here we go. Thank God for eBay in that sense. But man, I would love to see your Game & Watches. That's awesome.
So let me ask you, do you do a lot of collecting? Like I obviously, between you and I, we know a lot of pro wrestlers, and I know a lot of them are like, like Gargano's huge into collecting toys, and same with Cardona and whatnot. Do you like actively go, like, obviously you're always traveling, you're like doing appearances at different shows, but like when you're at your shows doing your appearances, are you low-key looking around going like, yo, you got any games lying around here? Like, are you trying to game hunt when you're out on the road?
Oh, so sometimes if I have the time to do it, or like me and a couple of buddies of mine on the road have the chance to go and check out like cool retro game stores, or really stores in general, I definitely kind of always have my eyes open for stuff like that. It's been pretty tough. There's a store though here in Orlando called Gamers Inc. That I check once a week. It's like it's a store that I stop at like right before I go and hit the road for AEW. And every now and then they have like the coolest stuff. Like for example, there's this guy who does trades in this store where he, I guess, spends a ton of time in Japan. So he comes over and has Famicom and Super Famicom games that he trades in for North American releases. So in turn, it's like I have all these Famicom and Super Famicom games because of this guy at Gamers Inc. But every now and then I do get the chance to, while I'm on the road, to try to travel and check out some different game stores.
That's awesome. Oh, what's like?
You are flying through this, by the way.
I'm trying. I'm a little slow today, but I'm waking up.
Unbelievable. To me, Mega Man is so difficult. I love Mega Man, but to watch you fly through this is wild.
Thank you. What I was gonna say is there any like thing you're looking for right now, Holy Grail wise? Like, is there something you're trying to, the white whale that you're looking for of something, whether it's like a particular game or a console or, you know, a special edition of something?
Man, that's such a good question, because lots of times, but like for a while, actually, it was, I did have this in my mind where, because I got the quote unquote first home console with the Magnavox Odyssey, then in my mind it was definitely the Microvision. I wanted to get the first handheld console. But
Sure.
this is gonna sound insane. But I really do mean this. So, not that I am by any means a historian or a researcher when it comes to the history of video games, but a lot of people do consider the first true video game to ever exist being Tennis for Two, which came out October 18th, 1958, at Brookhaven National Laboratory. Which is it's kind of what inspired Pong and Magnavox Odyssey's tennis game, things like that. And the idea of somehow getting like a replica of Tennis for Two, it's the most absurd holy grail of all time. But if I somehow made that happen, I think that would be the ultimate thing I could get. The ultimate thing.
Did you even know, like, you know, all the history and whatnot, man?
Love it, man. I love it, dude. Seriously. Again, a lot of these books that I've read are so fascinating to me. Like, again, when I was first getting into wrestling, I obsessed on the early history of wrestling with like George Hackenschmidt and Lou Thez and all that stuff. And it was the same exact thing with video games, man. Like, I was so fascinated by that whole process. And it's what else is even crazier to think about is how video games really, if we do treat Tennis for Two as the first true video game, they've only been 64 years old. And the fact that they've made the progress that they have and developed the way they have is just, it's insane. It's incredible.
Have they ported Tennis for Two?
I have Tennis for Two on my cell phone, which is so crazy. There's an app for it, I swear.
So someone essentially was like, yo, we could ramp that up.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. Because I mean, again, too, like thinking about, not to keep deep diving on the early history of games, but like, it's so crazy to me that the Magnavox Odyssey, for example, is just like 2 dots on a screen, and you had to put physical overlays on your CRT TV and use your imagination to play said game, which I just think is so cool. It's so cool, because that's what makes video games so awesome. They really capture your imagination.
Yeah, and now we can just play any game we want on our iPhone and call it a day.
Anything. It's insanity. What else is insanity is this run. Holy moly, dude.
Thank you, man.
I gotta step my Mega Man game up.
So let's talk a little pro wrestling, because I don't know how much of our audience actually is into pro wrestling, but they know that I love pro wrestling.
Yes, me as well.
When did it start for you? Like, what was the first match that made you go, yo, this is the one that I want to do?
Yeah,
this is it.
Sure. I will never forget. So I took karate lessons. My parents split when I was 9 years old. So one of the things I did when I was with my mom was she would take me to these karate classes, and I got super attached to that and really loved my trainer. I would get there early. I would stay late. And I remember one day I showed up, and he was running on a treadmill, and he was watching Kane and Stone Cold Steve Austin put Paul Bearer in a sewer. It was a taped Monday Night Raw, and he looked at me and he goes, oh, do you watch pro wrestling? And I just bold-faced lied. I was like, yeah, I watch it all the time, just because I wanted to fit in with him so bad. And then, long story short, he goes, well, if you get a note from your mom, because you're so young, I was like 9 years old at the time, he goes, I'll let you borrow WrestleMania 15. It was just in Philadelphia. It's the biggest wrestling event of the year. And so I went home and I begged my mom. I'm like, Mom, please, I can get closer with my sensei. This is going to be wonderful. And I think she figured, Well, he's been such a good coach to him that wrestling can't be that bad. So long story short, he lets me borrow the tape, and it's The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 15, and I was hooked as a fan, absolutely hooked. But I didn't decide that I wanted to be a wrestler until 2 years later at WrestleMania 17 in the Houston Astrodome, The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin 2, where Austin aligned with McMahon, 67,000 people in this arena. And I will never forget that Limp Bizkit My Way video that plays.
Dude, I watch that once a month. It's so good.
It's so good. And when there's this small hesitation that probably wasn't intentional, but Howard Finkel gets on the microphone and says this match is now no disqualification. And Jim Ross goes, no disqualification. When was that added? And there's a 1 second pause where no one in that arena is reacting. And the glass breaks and 67,000 people get on their feet and scream at the top of their lungs. It was the first time at 11 years old I ever got goosebumps. And I was like, oh, I need to be a pro wrestler. I just need to. I decided in that moment, dude. I was like, I have to do it.
I love that. That's so cool. I think, okay, so I got into pro wrestling.
What was yours? Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, so I got into pro wrestling. I remember it was the very first show that I watched. It was a Monday Night Raw.
You and me both, man. Kane Colbert? Or
almost. Around that time, actually. So I started watching wrestling, I think it was just after Royal Rumble 2000, where Mick Foley wrestled Triple H in the street fight, where freaking Hunter gets the piece of wood stuck in his leg. So I watched that, and then like a couple weeks later, I saw there was you're gonna kick out of this, especially now. It was Chris Jericho had just debuted on TV not too long ago.
Wow.
And the whole bit was like Stephanie and Hunter were like, yo, this guy sucks. He's not very good. And then freaking Earl Hebner did a quick count, or so Hunter claimed that he did a quick count on Chris Jericho. So Chris Jericho was the champion for less than an hour and a half. He defeated Triple H, and Hebner was like this evil villain and everything. And I just remember, like, I'm sitting there going like, dude, this jacked dude just did this. How is he getting away with it? This sucks. Like, I have no idea how he's doing this. What a freaking bummer. And then the next time I watched it, I saw The Rock, and I was like, dude, that's my guy. If I was a wrestler, The Rock would be who I would be. Yeah. And what was great, because at the time I didn't know about Stone Cold, I didn't know about Undertaker, because they were away, they were healing or taking a break. And so the first time I see Undertaker at Unforgiven, he comes out and he screws The Rock. And then I see Stone Cold at Backlash, like, help The Rock. Like, man, it just was like, dude, who are these characters, and why am I so invested? And I think for like 2 or 3 years, it just became such a part of my vernacular to watch Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, or Thursday Night SmackDown at the time. And I didn't even know about WCW until they got bought.
Oh, wow. Okay.
As a kid, I had no idea. So when I saw the purchase happen, I was the one guy that was like, hey, this storyline about them buying WCW is really cool. Meanwhile, everyone's like, dude, they don't have any of the good people.
right. And you're like, what do you mean? I thought they made this all up.
Like, oh, and then a couple months later, oh, look, it's the NWO. Who's Ric Flair? Like, suddenly I'm like, I got ingratiated, and I was in it until I want to say 2005. I stopped right around like the tail end, like right when Evolution was. I think I watched until Batista and Orton left Triple H and Flair, right?
So you kind of fell out of it for a little bit.
Yeah, and I fell back into it because of Creed.
Oh, that's incredible.
I used to Creed was trending on Twitter because he played the Final Fantasy Victory theme on his trombone with the New Day one day.
Yeah.
And Final Fantasy, New Day, and WWE Monday Night Raw were trending, and I was like, wow, my trending feed is like messed up on Twitter. I don't know what's happening. And sure enough, like I looked, and yeah, it was like I just ran upon Creed's profile, and the next thing I know, he like has a YouTube channel and he's doing stuff. Yep. And I was hooked. I was drawn right back in, and that's how I found out about you, because of NXT and all that stuff. And next thing I know, I'm playing Among Us with you, and here we are all these years later.
Right. Oh man, that's so cool. Like, and you talking about these wrestlers that you didn't know, but you were so intrigued by. I do think this is kind of a random topic to bring up, but I do think it's so true. What makes wrestling so magical to me is when you have an arena full of people like fully invested, whether it's the match that's happening or an interview or an entrance. Like, I remember being a kid and just seeing 20,000 people lose their minds for this guy named Stone Cold Steve Austin, and just being so fascinated by it. Like a hot wrestling crowd, there is nothing in the world like it, man. Nothing in the world like it.
My very first wrestling match I ever went to, my dad does a lot of business with like beverage companies, you know?
Yeah.
And so in the late 90s, early 2000s, one of WWE's biggest sponsor was RC Cola.
Yes.
And they had a limited flavor called RC Edge that happened to have Edge on the can. And it was before TLC. It was like right around, like maybe the tail end of TLC 1. Like, Edge's career hadn't even really had started within the Brood, you know? It was that early on. And so I think it was Unforgiven in Pittsburgh. It was my first time ever. It was a quadruple. No, the main event was Rock defending the championship against Kane, Triple H, and Taker.
Okay.
And the mid card was flipping the Hardys in a steel cage match with Edge and Christian.
Yes. Yes.
And huge match. And I, as a kid, I was like, I've been watching these guys for months. I didn't know what to expect, and I was worried it was gonna suck. And then I heard The Rock's theme like play, and everyone pop, and I was like, no, I was right. This is a cool thing. I'm into this. Like,
cool.
Yeah, this is very cool. And you just start to fall in love with the whole process all over again every time. And that's the nice thing about modern day pro wrestling. I've learned is that, like, I think I've been to more wrestling shows in the last 2 years than I have my entire life. And every time you hear that track of someone come in, it's just so explosive. Even when, you know, you gave me tickets for Dynamite and Rampage, even just and you weren't wrestling, you know, you were about to take some time away, but just even you just hearing, you know, it's all about, and you come out, it's like it's like a freaking, oh man, like the electricity is undescribable.
It's so important for so many wrestling moments. Again, like for when I was a kid, before I even understood exactly what it was that I loved about wrestling, whether it be the storytelling or the athleticism, I swear I was more invested in the entrances.
Yes,
it was like all I cared about. I was like, oh, my favorite wrestler is this guy because the crowd makes the most noise when this song plays.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's so funny too, because I was that weird kid who was like, yo, the WrestleMania entrances were the most important thing ever. I didn't care what anyone said, and it felt like Hunter was the only one that understood that, because every WrestleMania he had such a sick entrance. I'm like, dude. Epic. Even like the Terminator one from a few years ago was like so sick. I was like, man, it's so cool.
Awesome. So cool.
So I know you've probably said this a billion times. What is like your who do you think in any era of wrestling is severely underrated? Like, you saw them and they were like, yo, that's my guy, even though no one ever talks about them, or like they're so wise above their years that people have no idea.
Oh, such a good question. This is gonna sound probably incredibly silly. Because this guy is so respected and so loved within the industry. But I guess I could call this underrated. I think it's insane that Roddy Piper never had a super long world championship run.
Yeah.
In the WWE. Like when you talk about a guy who was incredible on the microphone, worked with everyone and had amazing matches. Again, he was in the first main event of the first WrestleMania, so that's hard to say, quote unquote, underrated. But I really think he was like a once in a lifetime type of talent. So to not have him as world champion at some point still is wild to me. So I'm going to go with Roddy Piper, man. I thought he was real special.
I couldn't agree more. I think, this is gonna sound super stupid for me to say this, because it's just like no duh, but like there's something about the Macho Man that just
there we go. Yep.
Come on, Jirard. Come on. Oh. Yeah, there we go.
Oh my God. How'd you do that, dude?
Just gonna hammer it out. Macho Man, great performer, great wrestler, great talent, such an entertainer, but it always felt like, because of the mega powers, that like he was just never destined to really feel like he was the world champion. And I think he did have a run as world champ at one point, I think. But it just didn't seem as important as it was, like it's almost like when Brett won the championship again, or was going to win the championship, or I think he won, and then Hogan came out and defeated him after Yokozuna, right? Like it just kind of stole the air and the thunder in the room. And I don't know if Macho Man had his day, but it definitely felt like the Intercontinental Championship was like his pride and joy.
Jirard, I am so sorry. I have to let someone in the house. I am going to be 10 seconds. I promise. I'm so sorry. Sorry, everybody. I'll be right back.
Don't even worry about it. It's all good. Isn't this crazy, guys? I can't believe the show is going as well as it has. You guys don't know, but Ted is silently hiding on the call, and he doesn't have a microphone. But just know that Ted loves you. Ted, put a picture of yourself. The thumbs up. That's
okay.
How much.
Okay.
And he's back.
I apologize, everybody. I apologize. My wonderful, beautiful girlfriend was locked outside.
So no.
I had to open it very quickly. Sorry, everybody. But anyway, yes, I could not agree more as far as Macho Man goes. Could not agree more.
Yeah, I'm not a historian in that way, but I don't know if that is a true thing. But it felt like, man, he was such a great talent.
Oh my God, yeah. And that's another wild thing about wrestling. When you think about like all the incredible talent who have done so many different things, it's hard to necessarily say that, again, like Macho Man, Roddy Piper, two of the greatest ever, and recognized as two of the greatest ever. But still, you think about how much more they could do as well, which is just a testament to how talented they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's shift back to games a little bit.
Yeah.
What is like your absolute favorite game of all time? Like number one, hands down, every time you play it. I want to assume it's Halo, but I don't want to misspeak.
Yeah, well, so this is again, I think as far as if I were to name favorite, for sure Halo is like my ultimate pick up and play. Like whether I play it for 10 minutes or whether I play it for 10 hours. Halo is that game that really kind of made me deeply fall in love with video games in a lot of ways. But then I also look at games like The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt as being a game that just, again, whether it be the sense of wonder, the characters, the OST, it just captured my imagination so much that when I was laying down in bed to sleep, I would think about that game. And Elden Ring was the same thing as far as like a modern game that has just come out. I remember being so consumed and into that game. But if I had to pick a favorite, not necessarily naming it the best, but if I had to pick a favorite, it's Halo for me, for sure.
I think that outfit you had at one of the pay-per-views when you were up against Hangman, like, was so sick. Did you custom make that?
Yes, so I had someone from Main Event Gear make the custom gear and the shoulder pads and the knee pads, and I knew I was in a big situation where I was challenging for the AEW World Championship, and I wanted to have something super special. And to me, there's nothing more special than rocking some Master Chief gear. So I did. I was so excited to wear that. That to this day is my favorite gear that I've ever worn to the ring, for sure.
It's so sick.
I was so pumped. So and honestly, I'm not going to say much more, but I think video game inspired gear from me will hopefully be a regular occurrence. So stay tuned. Man. Stay tuned.
Dude, if you came out as a Mega Man for whatever reason, I would lose my mind.
That'd be so cool. So cool. Again, I'm just like, you are just ripping through these bosses, dude.
I'm trying.
Ripping through these. Is this one of your favorite games to speedrun?
Yes. So okay. It's funny. I'm not much of a speedrunner yet. I'm learning and getting better. Yeah. But the whole point of this series is to I don't want to think about what the visual is. I want and the person who's guesting with me should be entertained by said visual. So we chose. I'm speedrunning Mega Man X. Over and over again, so people at home are seeing the same footage.
There we go.
Time and time again. But the idea of it is like you're here for the good times and the good chats. And so
I am incredibly entertained. By the way, like, I can't keep my eyes off it. But yeah, it's funny you bring up speedrunning, because I myself, again, no experience with speedrunning, just someone who loves games. But Resident Evil 2 Remake is a game I've tried to get better and better at, like finishing as quickly as possible on professional mode. I've gotten to which this is not that impressive, but I've gotten to the point where on professional, I can finish the first William Birkin fight in 30 minutes.
That's so great.
I'm very happy with that, but I want to keep practicing, keep trying. So I love that game.
RE2 Remake, I think, well, I don't know. After playing RE4, I'm like, I keep going back to the wheel every time. I think my favorite two remakes currently are Resident Evil 2 Remake and Final Fantasy 7 Remake.
Okay, you took the words right out of my mouth, dude. Like, seriously, exact same.
They're both so good in their own ways. They expand upon a lot and they cut corners at times, and like both choices are like super valid and respected, you know, like it just makes sense. And RE4, like, you know, I haven't made a video on it yet, but I've been working on completing RE4, and I'm essentially done. But I put like 120 hours into that game.
Wow.
And I'm still not done. It's you just learn so much about how games are made and designed, and when you speedrun them for so many different reasons,
dude.
And I'm not even that big of a speedrunner.
Right. No. Like, I loved RE4 Remake so much, and RE2 Remake for that matter, that I got it on console, and then I also bought it on my Steam Deck, so I can like mess around with it and play it on the road too. RE4 Remake is, I think. I truly think I like the remake more than the orial.
I agree with you. It makes a lot of great choices. The Ashley actor is really solid.
Oh, like, great.
And they kept the humor for the most part, like, you know, especially as they're trying to canonically figure out what this like new Resident Evil universe is, right? Like, yeah, because they're trying to connect it all to Remake, they're trying to connect it to Village and to 7. So I'm in the. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. I was just gonna say, if the next game that Capcom decides to remake, which again Capcom has absolutely knocked it out of the park, which Resident Evil game do you hope that they remake next?
Okay, so here's the deal. The Resident Evil historian in me wants to say Resident Evil 0. No, Resident Evil Code Veronica. Because Code Veronica, to me, is one of the most iconic to the original foundation of what and who started Umbrella Corp. It's the Ashford twins. It's like, you know, you're Claire, but you're also that other dude with the golden guns, and you can also be Chris for a little bit. Like that to me is the one that's probably the most underrated. I think it probably is the one that deserves a full-on remake, because at this point, Resident Evil 1 technically was remade on the GameCube and Dreamcast and has been ported since then. And I don't know if they're going to... I wouldn't be mad if they did RE remake.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. And truth be told, for me, I would love if they remade 0, 1, Code Veronica, 5. Like, I want them all to be remade. But I'm with you in the sense of if I could choose what's the next remake going to be, I'm going Code Veronica as well. Yeah, I love Code Veronica.
And I know they're going to probably do Resident Evil 5 remake. And here's the deal. As weird as Resident Evil 5 is, I kind of low-key like it.
I do too.
I like it a lot. Yeah. So I'm okay if they with an RE5 remake, but if we're talking about going backwards, I would prefer personally Code Veronica 1. Maybe 0. Zero is like the story, and 0 is just like, hey, remember RE1? Well, there was RE1 happening at the same time as RE1 called RE0.
And I'm actually, and maybe, I know, I guess for the most part, I'm in the minority here, but I enjoyed 0 more than most people, I think. I love a good prequel story, man. I really, really do. I do too. I just hope that if they do remake it, that they give it the respect it needs. Yes.
Just because they definitely fleshed out Rebecca's character, but like Rebecca has a rough day from RE0 and RE1 when you think about it in comparison to everyone else.
Right, for sure. And then also going off of remakes, I can't explain how absolutely thrilled and excited I am about FF7 Rebirth. The idea of them taking these characters in this world and us being kind of on the edge of our seat thinking that maybe they're going to change a bunch. Maybe they're not going to change as much as we think. Like just the anticipation from what could come of FF7 Rebirth has me so incredibly excited, man. Like I can't wait.
Square Enix has been real quiet about it too, which makes me think I don't think we're going to get it this year. I think we're going to get more trailers. I think it's going to come out at the end of next year.
Okay.
If I had to speculate.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah, very I mean, of course, I'd be like giddy and so excited at the idea of it coming out late this year, which I know was originally discussed, but obviously they got to take their time and all that stuff. The other game I think the most anticipated game for me this year, if it does come out this year, is Silksong, the Hollow Knight sequel or prequel. Who knows? But
they just announced, I think, they made a public statement a couple days ago about how they're like, hey, we don't know yet. Yep. Which you got to give them respect for it. At least they're saying, absolutely, hey, we don't know. Give us a minute.
Oh my God, for sure. I would much rather, especially a team like Team Cherry, I would much rather them take their time and make sure the game is to their liking, even though I guarantee you we're going to love it. Again, Hollow Knight's my favorite Metroidvania of all time, for sure.
Speaking of Hollow Knight, I know that you play a lot of indie games. Ender the Release is one that you talk about constantly. Talk to me about that. Like, what's that one? Like, why is that so important to you, and why do you rep it so hard? Because I think you may be the only person I know who reps that game as hard as you do.
That is so easily in my top 3 Metroidvania games I've ever played. Aside from the fact that the story is really, really awesome because it's this vague, dark world, which I hate to use Dark Souls as an example, but kind of. Like there's just a lot of the lore and a lot of the history behind the game where you can kind of perceive yourself, which is really cool. But on top of that, like the combat is so interesting where you are playing as this character Lily, but you don't fight as Lily. You fight as these spirits who you have with you. And so the combat is very cool and different and interesting. And the OST like the second I heard the main title theme, I immediately went on my phone and went, okay, I have to see if I can download this on my phone. And then on top of that, the entire soundtrack is just so incredible. So it's unlike anything I've ever played before, and I mean it as in the highest compliment type of way. So it's a gorgeous game with an original, interesting story and so much things to discover. I loved that game.
That is a game that I started to play recently just because I've heard you talk about it so much.
Oh, that's amazing. Are you enjoying it so far?
So far, so good. I've been really enjoying it.
Good.
What else was I going to ask you?
Awesome.
So let's go back a little bit to your early days in pro wrestling.
Sure.
So how old are you when you first started wrestling?
I was 18 years old and a senior in high school when I started wrestling. So the exact story as far as how it came about, again, at 9 years old, I became a diehard fan. At 11, I said, okay, I'm going to be a pro wrestler. And then fast forward, I'm a junior in high school. I'm on the wrestling team at this point. Everything's going great in high school. And my mom says to me, she goes, hey, what are you going to do when you graduate high school? I said, Mom, I told you I'm going to be a pro wrestler. And she goes, well, I hope you know how you're going to do that because I'm not paying for wrestling school. So literally like a week later, the wrestling season had just finished up and I decided, okay, I'm not going to join the wrestling team in high school. My senior year, I'm going to get a job, a part-time job so I can save up for wrestling school. So I worked and saved up money. And then again, I was going to independent shows. I was going to WWE shows. I was going to every wrestling show I could go to. And CZW was a company that I would go and watch lots of times. And they had a wrestling school, which was in South Philadelphia. So like the new Alhambra Arena, AKA the infamous ECW Arena.
Yeah.
And that was where I started my training. I would drive 2 hours to Philadelphia Monday through Thursday. Get the snot beat out of me for a few hours and then drive back, get home around 1 a.m. and then get up at 6:30 and go to school and do it all over again. So I loved it, man. I loved it.
Okay, so take me back. Your very first wrestling match, if you will, outside of high school, or rather the first bump you take. How was that? Was it exhilarating for you, or were you like, uh-oh, this is a lot harder than I thought?
Oh, no. So don't get me wrong. Pro wrestling training is incredibly challenging. But, man, I can't explain the excitement I felt, like to step through the ropes and bump and fall down on that very, very tough ring. It was hard. Like, my back was bruised from hitting the ropes. I felt sore and beat up from taking bumps, but the human body is so amazing and the callus that it can develop over time.
Yeah.
On top of that, again, I was just so convinced and so sure that this is what I wanted to do, that there was like no other option, no other choice. So it was mostly excitement, but also I was definitely really sore. It took a while. Like, for example, even for me, recently, I was away from the ring for 9 months from a couple of pretty serious injuries. And then my first match back, after that first match, oh my God, I was so sore for days and days because that callus had gone away. So...
Do you feel like that callus is just from all the years? Because you I think you said earlier that, or in previous interviews before, just to me personally, like, you had not taken a break from wrestling ever in your career.
Nope. For literally for 15 years, the longest I had been off the road and away from the ring was 1 month.
Wow.
That was the longest amount of time I was gone. That was when I had some shoulder surgery done. So to be gone for almost a year, 9 months, was bizarre. But I think, truth be told, when you look at the fact of what I've done over the 15 years and the amount of matches I've had, honest to God, my body was probably saying, okay, we need a little bit of a break. But I feel great now, totally healthy and ready to rock and roll. So I got 15 more years in me, Jirard.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's exciting stuff, man. it's so fun to see you. It's so fun. I don't know what it is, and I don't know if you'll understand it or if anyone will. But like now that I know you and Creed and Cody, I see you guys in the ring, and because I know you guys, like on such a personal level, like it makes me care so much more about the show. And I know the ins and outs. I know it's I know well, you didn't book this, they booked it, or whatever it is,
right?
But you're just I'm so much more invested because each week I feel like, I don't know if this makes sense at all, but it feels like I'm in the ring with you in that way of like, kick his ass, like get the pin. That move is so sick. Like everything you guys do is so cool to watch, and deep down inside I'm just like, man, like it. I don't know why. I'm not wrestling, but I feel like as I'm watching you guys perform, it's just so magical to have that thing.
Man, I totally understand. Like, for example, me and you are friends and we're close and we talk and all that stuff. But like, for example, recently going through my recovery process, I filmed this show, AEW All Access, where I kind of covered my journey of coming back from my injury and things like that. And the attachment and the connection I feel like I've had even with a lot of the fans has changed, and for the better. Because anytime you know personally or have a better idea of someone's journey, what a difference it makes, for sure. So I can totally relate to that. Like I'm, for example, every time I watch Britt wrestle, I am completely invested because she's my girlfriend and someone that I love dearly. So I totally understand what you're saying. Totally get it.
I met Britt once, and I'm still scared of her. I'm so much out of respect, out of such respect. But she takes it so seriously, and like you see it every week. She just gets better and better and better. Yep. And it's just so cool to see her grow, and the DMD stuff. Like, man. She just gets it. It's so fun seeing her light up the stage every time, and the fact that, I mean, look. The fact that she actually is a dentist and she has clients that she sees every, consistently. And then also same with you, like you stream on Twitch more than I can. Like you're streaming on Twitch, and then you're like, all right, guys, see you later. And then suddenly you're like in Chicago doing a show. Then you come back and you're like, hey guys, we're playing Halo. Like, it's nuts to me. You're able to just still be a content creator and do that. It's nuts.
No, I love it, man. And like, again, going off of kind of what Britt does, where that's just her life. She loves practicing dentistry, and I love streaming and playing video games. So like anything, and you know this, Jirard, but like anything, when you love something and want to put the time in, you can do it. It's true.
It's true.
So, yeah. But it's cool because streaming has actually been so awesome because it to me, it's incredibly relaxing. Like to be able to hop on stream and play some of my favorite games or try out a new game and talk to people who enjoy it as much as I do. Like, it's so fun. I mean, how many times have we sat down for hours and talked video games, and that time just flies by. So
for sure.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
So I don't know if you know, have you seen this before, Adam? Do you know what anything's going on with this?
Oh, well, I'm watching you crush this game, and I've seen people speed run it before.
Yeah.
But this is, again, truth be told, Jirard, I'm ashamed to say this, and I shouldn't say it. The only Mega Man game I've ever beaten was Mega Man 11.
That's not a bad one. It's the more modern day one.
It took me a while, but I think Mega Man is so difficult. And I think that's a big reason. Well, besides the fact it's Mega Man, one of the most iconic video game franchises. But God, it's so fun to watch because I am not good at it. Also, I do have a question.
Yeah.
So you are on purpose picking certain levels, correct?
Yeah. So what you just saw me get was in the beginning I was just kind of messing around just to like. Yeah. Because I'm just being weird, but now I basically have every single item in the game that we need to beat the game. But what you saw me do in that last stage was we unlocked the secret Hadouken, from Street Fighter. So the Hadouken will one-hit kill any boss that we encounter.
What?
Yeah,
I don't know about this. Wow.
Yeah. So this is so Mega Man X is really important to me. It's one of my favorite Super Nintendo games, but it's also the first episode of The Completionist. It's where my career started. I made a video on Mega Man X and I became a viral star overnight and 12 years ago, and I haven't looked back, and I love this game a lot. I love there's a massive community for it. The speedrunners out there that are constantly playing. I constantly follow, like, I don't want to say low level because it's disrespectful, but I watch a lot of like new speedrunners of this game learn tech because it's very exciting to see them learn it.
Would you say would you call this your favorite game of all time?
I would say it's in my top 5 for sure. My favorite game of all time is Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest.
I just very quickly, I'm so sorry, and then please finish. I'm so sorry to cut you off. My ringtone is Forest Interlude. Donkey Kong 2. Yeah, I love it, that game.
Yeah, I love it's so funny because now it's weird because my career has just become so full circle, right? I grew up loving wrestling and video games, and now I'm friends with like my favorite wrestlers and my favorite video game creators and composers. Like Grant Kirkhope and I are very close, and I'm close with David Wise now, who composed all the Donkey Kong games, and and his kid watched my show for a long time. So like the fact that I'm connected the way that I am with my career is like one of the most beautiful thing. I could be making $1 and still be like, dude, look how cool this all is. It's just I'm so lucky and happy that I've had these opportunities and that people still watch my stuff after all these years. Because I imagine,
oh my god, yeah,
you probably feel this in wrestling too. Like, you probably, I mean, maybe not so much now because you're with AEW, but like you kind of probably have that fear of like, hey, if I go away or like if I stop, like, will they remember? Will they welcome me back with open arms? And we haven't really had that in YouTube, times per se, because the content creation cycle is a bit different for many folks. But I constantly think about when is it my time to stop completing games and to move on. And there's just that general fear of like, oh man, it feels like I have to complete a game to still stay relevant. And it's hard to disassociate that because you don't want to be the guy that's playing the hits all the time, Right. Well, it's crazy that there's so much to comment on there. But like, for example, as far as being worried about people remembering or paying attention to you, oh my God, like I just dealt with that with being gone for 9 months. I remember thinking like, people are going to forget or they're not going to care. And then you notice the support and the love that you have, and it just means the absolute world. But secondly, to comment on you, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's incredibly impressive what you are able to do, your gaming skill, your gaming knowledge, your gaming passion. But truth be told, lots of times, even before I met you, Jirard, I told you that I used to watch your videos. I still watch your videos. I watch them because of you. It's you, the human being, that I like to watch. I like to hear what your opinions are and your thoughts are, because not only because I respect you, and this is before I met you even, but because I enjoyed listening to what you have to say, and I think that's what a lot of your fans feel as well. You're putting me over in a way that I'm honored. I mean it, dude. I mean every word I'm saying. That's so kind of you. Genuinely, it's, oh man. You're the best, dude. You're the best. Fuck you. That's actually great. Let's talk about ROH a little bit. That's a great transition because I think when we first met, you told me that you used to watch me while you were on the road. Yes. What was it like kind of going from, I don't want to say indie wrestling to mainstream indie wrestling, but there's definitely got to be a little bit of a different allure. How was that like for you? Because I imagine it must have been a jarring transition, if you will.
Dude, it was, and truth be told, like looking back on my career, it happened so fast, which is absolutely incredible. But I started having pre-show matches for Ring of Honor 1 year into my career, like, which is crazy. Like when you think about the pressure, because I used to go and watch Ring of Honor shows with Bryan Danielson and Samoa Joe, and Nigel McGuinness, and I would think, oh my God, I want to wrestle like these guys. Because again, like, you know, my entire childhood, I watched WWE and I loved it. But I remember seeing ROH for the first time when I was in high school and being like, I want to wrestle like these guys. I was so blown away and so impressed. And then I would go to these shows and just, again, what we talked about earlier, the crowd interaction. The crowds were so passionate and so into the product, which really was intriguing. But yeah, so like a little bit of a backstory, but I had been doing pre-show matches for ROH for about a year. And every time I finished, the booker at the time would go, hey, yeah, great job. Come back next time. And I remember thinking, like, I need to do something else to impress them. I have to get their attention in a different way, because in this 4, 5, 6 minute match, I'm not doing it yet. So I sent the booker a promo that I cut on a show. And fortunately, he saw it and responded and said, hey, I really enjoyed that. I want you to cut a promo at the ROH tapings, in 3 weeks. And this was all before the show. It wasn't on television or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I got in the ring and I cut a promo, and the right people were watching what was happening. I'm not kidding. That day I got offered my first wrestling contract for Ring of Honor. So I was like 20, 21 years old, and I got the chance to start traveling and wrestling in all these different cities. It was the first time I flew in an airplane. So like it was huge for me on so many different levels. Now, the two biggest things were, one, I'm getting to work with guys who were some of the best, most talented pro wrestlers on the planet. So I learned a ton. And secondly, like you had mentioned, Ring of Honor was super important in the wrestling scene, to the point where we actually got to learn TV wrestling a little bit, because at the time there was HD net tapings that were happening. So I had to learn how to wrestle with commercial breaks. I had to learn how to make sure I stay exact on my time. Like if you have a minute, you can't go a minute and 5 seconds. You have 1 minute and you have to figure it out. So yeah, ROH was absolutely vital to my career. I love Ring of Honor and always will.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's so important.
I imagine.
Look at the spider boss. I hate spiders. Hate them.
I hate this guy. He's the worst.
Oh, is this the toughest boss?
In my opinion, second toughest. One of the toughest. I'm gonna try and do the Hadouken and see if I can end his career real quick.
Do it.
No. Okay. Okay.
Oh, you got him. Oh, he's too fast. He's too fast. Here we go. I'm gonna
try and do it. Let's see.
You got it ready.
Let's see if I can nail it.
All right. I think you can. I believe it.
Got him.
Yes. Beautiful.
Easy. Sacrifice had to be made, but
kill, baby. Let's go.
So awesome. How is it for you? And looking back now at the ROH days compared to where you are, like, obviously the ROH brand is still around and it's still doing its thing. It's obviously in my opinion, a much like grandiose of a stage, right? Because with Tony Khan AEW, it's like it's consumption, right? It's content.
For sure.
Do you feel like your hard work not just paid off, but like kind of paved the way? Like, people are gonna be talking about ROH and the work that you did, similar to how people did ECW and that kind of thing.
Oh man, well, that's very, very nice of you to say. I never really thought of it in that sense, but I would like to think I'm an important part of the Ring of Honor legacy in some way. So man, I just think I think ROH is such an incredibly important wrestling promotion on so many different levels. Like, here's the other wild thing to think about, going off of what you said, but like talking to some of the young talent today and hearing them say, yeah, my parents would take me to ROH shows and we would watch you. That's still so bizarre to me. Because forever I felt like I was the young guy in wrestling, and now I'm 33, and there are all these insanely talented young wrestlers who are in their early 20s or mid 20s who said that, you know, when they were younger, they used to watch me, which is wild. So, like I said, hopefully I made some sort of an impact in that sense. But I do think, going off of what you said as well, the fact that Tony Khan has Ring of Honor and we get to showcase it in this light is so important, because Tony has such a respect for the history and the importance of wrestling on so many different levels. So Tony's going to showcase it to the best of its ability in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like I personally, just missed out on so much wrestling over the last several decades that, like, Ring of Honor, didn't even know about that. GCW had no idea about that.
Dude, you would have loved Ring of, like, and you could still love Ring of Honor, but I mean, like, before Tony had Ring of Honor, when ROH was its own thing, like, 10 years ago, you would have loved it, Jirard.
Dude,
absolutely loved it.
It's interesting because I feel like, at least in Los Angeles, obviously there's pro wrestling now, but there's not a lot of like shows that take place here, or there's a lot of like gyms and colleges you can go to that are, wrestling schools.
Sure.
Not a lot of like actual shows that take place outside of a small thing here or there. So it feels like ROH was like kind of like the not East Coast or Midwest, but like wrestling, historically speaking, has just been so much more of a I don't want to say
East
like
Coast.
Yeah, I guess that's the right response.
Yeah. No, well, Jirard, have you been to PWG before?
No.
Okay. You'll have to go and check out a Pro Wrestling Guerrilla show at some point, because if I look at the two most important companies that I worked for, before I had my time in NXT and before now I have my time in AEW, seriously, Ring of Honor and Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, which is a West Coast Reseda, California promotion, those two companies changed my entire career. So PWG lots of times was called like the West Coast ROH.
Oh man, how did I not know about this?
Yeah, you would love it, man. Love it.
So you lived in California for a couple years, or is it more of a touring shore?
Yeah. So I never lived there, but truth be told, like going back a little bit further, when I was first starting in Ring of Honor, I was like a young upstart talent. And then I was working for PWG, or Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. And PWG, again, an incredibly popular and important promotion to a lot of the diehard, hardcore indie wrestling fans. And I became world champion there. And had like a really, really nice run. And that was actually when I first turned heel, when I became like a bad guy. Yeah. So that inspired ROH to go, okay, let's do more with Adam Cole and let's turn him heel. So like that was very important to my career, but PWG was such an awesome promotion, or it still is. It still runs. They still have amazing shows, amazing shows.
Now, not to get like all like retro on you, but if you could go back and give yourself advice as you're working your ass off in these places, what would you say?
I would tell myself to relax. Because there were and I still battle with this sometimes, not in like a super negative way, but and I'm sure you can relate to this in some capacity, but you have this goal and this vision of things that you want to achieve, and when you're so obsessed and so focused on it, sometimes there are amazing moments or amazing things that happen and you don't even sit back and enjoy it. You're already thinking about the next thing. And I noticed when I was super young in my career, it was just constantly, okay, cool, I did this, but now I need to focus on getting here. And don't get me wrong, that is important for motivation and drive and improvement self-evaluation, all that stuff. But now as I've gotten older, I've learned to kind of sit back and smell the roses a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I wish I could tell 22, 23, 24-year-old me, like, hey, man, enjoy this tonight. Like, this is a really, really special moment and a really special night. Not that I didn't by any means, but again, when you're young in the pro wrestling industry and you're so focused on achieving a goal or accomplishing the next thing, sometimes you forget to go, hey, man, when I was 9 years old, I decided I wanted to be a wrestler. This is pretty darn cool.
Yeah. I relate to that so much because a lot of my early YouTube career, it's gonna sound super weird, and I've said this before. I thought I was hot shit when I started doing YouTube. I thought the Completionist and Beard Bros, this channel, like, I thought we were going to be the best things in sliced bread on YouTube. And it felt like we were onto something, and like, what, if we build it, they will come. And, you have your fair share of like personal dramas, your internet dramas and such. Sure. But I remember when COVID came, I had this moment of like, man, there's so many funerals and birthdays and weddings and birthing of family members that I just missed simply because I was too busy completing games or getting the next Beard Bros video out. And it just, like, retroactively speaking, I'm like, those are years I'm gonna miss. Like, those are years that I couldn't tell you what replaced them. You know what I mean? I couldn't tell you like what. Oh man, like I didn't go to my sister's birthing of her child, but let me tell you, I played Mario Odyssey until 5 a.m. Like, those memories, while they were fun and personal for me, looking back, I'm like, I could have slowed down. I could have like stopped to smell the roses and respect my body in that way, because I was never a big guy, but I became a big guy just from lack of sleep and the grind and the hustle and not taking care of my body. And like, you get into that zone of my body will be fine. I'll get there when I get there. But when I get to the next level of this, like, what's that going to mean for me? And I think like the pandemic really made me kind of take in just how grateful I am for everything that I've got, because you just never know.
Oh my God. Yeah. Being grateful for sure is so important. And going off of what you're saying as well, it's like, that's the weird mental balance to find, because you want to be in a mental position to go, I am willing to do anything and everything to achieve this goal. But at the same time, it's so tough to say, I'm willing to do anything and everything to achieve that goal, while also going, oh man, the journey has been super fun. Like, so that, like, finding that, and not saying that it wasn't fun. I don't know if this is making sense, but like, it's so important, I think, that if you do have this no one's going to stop me mentality, that is absolutely incredible. But at the same time, just remember why you got into it for the first place. Like, enjoy it every single step of the way. So, and appreciate the things that you've accomplished, So, but yeah, you're so right. Like, COVID was like a giant wake-up call as far as things that are super important and things that we should focus on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, quick question. So just the previous screen, it looked like you were farming enemies. What was the reason for that?
So you get 4 energy tanks in Mega Man X. Okay. See those like little rainbow squares in the bottom left corner?
Yep.
Those are, every time I have full health and I collect more health, it goes into that meter. So what I was doing, and so like, for instance, like, so I can't do the Hadouken without having full health. So what I do is I waste a whole thing, and then I try and do the Hadouken to do the one-hit kill.
Yes.
Like that right there.
Amazing. I figured it had something to do with that. Yeah. But I wanted to ask to make sure. That is so sick. That is awesome.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm not. Again, I don't speedrun this game, but I try and optimize my time as best I can.
Of course.
Just because we're doing it. I'm on par with what I did last time. I'm a few minutes over, but you know, it's totally cool.
Man, you are killing it. You are killing it.
Thank you.
So do you have a most anticipated game this year? Do you have or something in the near future?
Oh man,
it's so tough to decide. I already said Silk Song is my answer.
I want to say Final Fantasy 16, just because that's in June, but also even sooner. I'm really excited for Street Fighter 6.
Yes, that looks so amazing. But Jirard, you might have to coach me a little bit. I am so bad at fighting games; it's not even funny. But Street Fighter 6, I feel like that could be a good one to jump into it and try to teach myself how to play fighting games.
Yeah, man. Brett, who's a beard bro on this channel, he is like a fighting game aficionado. Ooh. He can teach anyone how to play. If you're ever in LA and you've got a couple hours, okay, you come by the office and Brett will teach you. He was my teacher for about 2 years, and I trained to go to Evo. And man, oh man, was it like such a fun experience to learn and get good. And I'm still not great, but like to learn the fundamentals and the basics, I just see fighting games so much more different now because you just start to see that they all speak the same language. Yeah, exactly. Like fighting games are some of my most favorite games to watch, or like I have burned into my brain, and I wish I could remember the year, but the Street Fighter tournament where someone did a special and the guy blocked like all 13. Oh, you're talking about Evo Moment 27 with Justin Wong and Daigo, where the Chun-Li and Ken, and he does the parries like a billion times.
Oh, so cool, dude. It's so awesome.
If you play I think it's like one of the more recent Street Fighter collections for Third Strike, there's an achievement where you have to read the CPU does the combo, and you have to parry all the way through and do what Daigo did in that match, and it just seems like such a fun, like, novel concept to like try and recreate that moment.
That is amazing. Oh my god, that's so cool.
Yeah, man, freaking video games are nuts.
They're the best. They're the best, man. Oh my god. Oh.
How do you have time to? I mean, we talked about it earlier. You love it, but like to genuinely sit there and be like, all right, I'm gonna go get thrown through a table this week, and then wake up, take a flight, get home, and just turn the camera on. Like that. That to me is the hard part. Like, you know, the fact that you do so much physically, and then you worry about your audience at home watching you on YouTube and Twitch.
Sure. Wait, again, like when I think back to when I first started training to be a wrestler, you know, I would train and again get beat up and get very little sleep. And then go to high school and try to be the best student that I could. Yeah. And in this scenario, it's like school. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I was just so focused on being a wrestler. Whereas with this, I love being a wrestler, and then I also love being a streamer. Yeah. So like, to me, it's because it's what I want to do. Like I don't have as much free time as I would like to casually game on my own, because I spend a lot of time streaming, obviously. But so that streaming time is like such an amazing part of my day, because not only am I playing video games, which I love, but seriously, the community that we've formed on Twitch. I remember Austin Crees said to me one time, he goes, streaming is so cool because you have no idea the kind of community that you can form. And I thought, oh, okay, well, we'll see. I just want to stream so I can talk to other people who enjoy video games as much as me. You know, not all my friends are as into video games as I am, so it'll be cool to talk to other people about it. But he was totally right. Like, we celebrate people's birthdays. So many people have come on stream and been like, oh my God, I had my first child. And we celebrate that. Like, it's such a positive, feel-good environment on top of playing these awesome games. To me, I don't care if it's 1 hour of sleep. Like, to me, it's a relaxing, fun, and like vital part of my life now. It really is.
Do you ever see chug signs in the audience?
Dude, yes, I do. Like there have been giant Chugs Army flags and banners. Like it's unbelievable. And here's like a prime example to me. This more so than ever was a giant wake up call. But I did my first overseas signing. And it's been a long time since I've gone overseas. Definitely since the pandemic, I had not traveled, and I went to Manchester, England, to do a signing for the Love of Wrestling, is what it was called. Amazing time, had a blast. Jirard, I swear, 75% of people who came up to the table to say hello and get a picture or get something signed referred to me as Chugs, not as Adam Cole.
Which is so funny because I know how important I know how important like Chugs the brand is to you, as well as Adam Cole. So like the fact that you get to have both cakes and eat them both at the same time is so cool.
It's such a blessing. It's so cool because that was the interesting thing too. Is I know as Chugs, it's like its own thing, focused kind of on video games, and Adam Cole obviously is focused on wrestling. But the fact that that's been able to combine in a lot of ways, and I can share that love and that passion with everybody has been awesome. Is this the final boss?
Yes.
Oh baby.
Feels like it, right?
Oh baby. He just looks like like the final boss. There he is. We
got 3 phases.
Oh, what is this? What is this? Elden Ring? What's going on here?
Yeah, right. Ugh.
You've inspired me to want to play Mega Man X. I have the collection on my Switch.
X is my favorite one, hands down. It's
mine too.
It's the original Mega Man's good, but like it feels very like, I'll get you next time, Mega Man. Whereas like X feels more like an anime where it's like there's stakes and there's characters and there's arcs and whatnot.
Right.
I'm getting destroyed right now.
Oh, you got it. Here we go.
Oh boy.
Here we go. Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Let's see if I can get enough. Oh, I'm short 1 pellet. No, I'm full. Okay. All right. Let's see if I can get this. The Hadouken on this guy.
You got this.
Okay, let's see here.
Beautiful. Full faith. Full belief. Oh, he has a lightsaber? Oh, let's go. Oh, God, this music is so great, too.
Dang it.
Here we go. God, he's moving and grooving.
He is. I'm going to go for it.
Okay.
Ah!
Oh, and he blocked it.
It's cause the no. So the Hadouken,
yes,
it requires an input. It's the same button as shoot. So if you do it wrong, you shoot it, and then it like dang it. Okay, I have to do this the old-fashioned way because I need the health containers for the boss. But yeah, like if you ever see me like shoot a pellet first, then do the Hadouken after, it's because I'm doing the input wrong.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So what's happening is I'm like hitting them with the pellet, which makes them invincible, so they don't get hit by the Hadouken.
Oh, okay. Hey, you're crushing him right now, man. Here we go. There you go. Oh man, yes, beautiful. But one more phase, right?
Yep. And this one, you cannot give him the Hadouken to beat him. You have to beat him with his weakness. So it's going to be a long fight.
2 full heals, I think. You have 2 full heals. Okay.
He does a lot of damage though. Come on.
Oh, this is so cool.
Come on.
There we go.
Come on. Oh, God.
My hands are sweating, and I'm not playing. Oh.
Come on, give me a hand. There we go.
There we go. Beautiful. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Ugh.
There we go. There we go. Good damage. Good damage. Almost halfway. Yep. There it is. Beautiful. Beautiful.
We got this.
Yeah, you do. Oh.
There we go. Okay, I'm good.
I literally am gonna play Mega Man X on the road this week now because
Dude, you're gonna love it.
I'm gonna get destroyed. But oh my god,
I'm gonna use it just to be sure.
Yeah, smart man.
Ooh. Dude,
There we go.
give me
Holy,
a hand.
he's going
Come on.
insane.
There we go.
Okay. And one more hit.
There we go. And that's game.
yes. GG's. Let's
Thank you.
go. Let's go.
Yeah, Mega Man X is in my top 5. I think my top 5 games. Yeah, I'd do like a top 6. I would do Mega Man X, Donkey Kong Country 2, Shovel Knight. I absolutely love.
What a great game.
Final Fantasy 6.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 7. And for my last game, what would it probably be? I would say Super Mario RPG.
Oh my god. Dude, every single game that you mentioned, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. But truth be told, Jirard, you might hate me for this. But it's literally on my to-do list. I just downloaded it on my Steam Deck. I have never finished Final Fantasy VI. And everyone tells me it's going to be one of, if not your favorite Final Fantasy game. So I can't wait to play it.
I always tell everyone that if you loved Final Fantasy VII,
Love it.
you love it without realizing that Final Fantasy VI walked so that Final Fantasy VII could sprint. And a lot of it is because Final Fantasy VI to me is an ensemble piece. And that's kind of what Final Fantasy VII is to a degree, right? It's not just Cloud and Tifa. It's the whole cast and crew. And so you start to fall in love with all the characters. Final Fantasy VI, essentially, if you break it down, is medieval Star Wars, but with magic.
Okay.
And that's like the shitty way of describing it. But it's so much more than that. There's so many moments. The music is incredible. Probably like Nobuo Uematsu is one of his best soundtracks, in my opinion. And I've always said, I've gone on record saying that, like, when I'm retiring as the completionist, the precursor to me playing Donkey Kong Country 2 will be Final Fantasy 6. So like you'll see Final Fantasy 6 and then you'll see Donkey Kong Country soon after. But I don't think I'll ever retire. To me, it just seems like I'll stop doing the weekly grind of creating content and just make it when I feel inspired. Because that's the hardest thing, right? Is I've completed over 450 games at this point in my life.
That's unreal, dude.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and I've done so many cool things, right, at G4 and and you know, I'm working on so many other projects that no one knows about, right? And so I'm so grateful for that journey and what I've done so far. But like, man, oh man, I definitely dream of a day where I could like take this. I love doing this as a job, but kind of shifting back to it as a hobby. Yeah, I feel like I get to enjoy it so much more.
Right.
Because I look at games differently, and I'm sure you look at wrestling differently, right? You start to mathematically see through the matrix of it and start planning how you approach it all, and it changes you through and through.
For sure. I think too, that's also part of, like, when you brought up the whole how do you stream after wrestling or being gone for a while? To me, I have never, ever once in my life, because pro wrestling is my love, my life, and my job. To me, streaming on the Chugs and playing video games, that's just a fun side hobby. Sometimes I'm able to do it 7 days a week, and sometimes I can only do it 1 day a week, or sometimes I'm gone for a week and a half. So I totally can relate and understand to the whole a different approach and different mindset based on how active you are with it. So
absolutely. Yeah. Well, Adam, our hour is up. Our hour and 20 minutes we've been doing this.
No!
Yeah, it went by so fast. But I want to say thank you for joining me. I'm sure everyone at home is stoked that you're here. Everyone, please check out Adam, twitch.tv/thechugs. That's THECHUGGS.
Right? THECHUGS, just one G.
Oh, just one G.
Yeah.
So CHUGS.
Okay, what's down here? Just water.
Yes. And it's the same on YouTube too, correct?
Rolling in clutch. like he is the throttle. You loving the string. Well, it ain't no problem. You know that we got him. You rockin' with Chugs.
Yes, that is
Great.
correct.
We'll have links in the box down below for all you who are listening and watching. Yeah, Adam, thanks for your time, dude. Anything else you want to talk about before we get into these credits?
No, just again, not to reiterate it, but I do think it's really important. Jirard, I love you, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I was more than happy to do this, and I would love to do it again at some point. But thanks for talking with me as a friend, as a gamer, and I appreciate you, man. And thank you everybody for listening.
Dude, thank you. I'll play a game with you any day of the week. I'll fly out to you on the road. Just send me a text and go, Jirard, come meet me in New York, and I'm on the plane. Let's do it.
Let's go. Everyone hold him to that.
I allow it. I encourage it. You have one golden coin on me, Adam. You call me and you say, Jirard, today's the day. And I'm there. And whenever you win the world championship, wherever, I've told you multiple times, but when you win, when the time comes, and it will, I'm going to be there in the front row with the biggest chug sign you've ever seen.
Oh my God. That's going to be the most magical day of my career, man. A magical day of my career.
Yeah, man. Me and the boys roll deep for you, Adam. We love you, man.
Yeah, you're the man.
Awesome. Guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.